What is going on, YouTube? A Train here, bringing you CDL Talk episode 2. This is going to be over week 1 of stage 3. So we're into stage 3 now, and there has been some crazy things that went on this weekend, starting on Thursday, but it's been crazy. I just now finished watching the Dallas Empire and the Toronto match on Sunday, so I'm hoping to get this up, probably say get it up on maybe like Monday or Tuesday. We'll see how it goes. But we're going to go ahead and recap the entire Thursday through Sunday. Every game, I have a couple stats that I'm picking up from Breaking Point. They are on Twitter at GG Breaking Point. They have tons of stats and, go game by game, series by series. So they're really full of information. So I'm going to go ahead and link their Twitter account in the description, so you can go ahead and check those guys out. But we're gonna go ahead and start on Thursday, day 1 of the 4-day London home series is what it was. All right, guys, so the first series that we're gonna talk about is the Dallas Empire going up against the Paris Legion. Now, just like me, I'm sitting here, I'm expecting Dallas to come through and just blow away Paris, right? Just Dallas with their experience, with the team chemistry that they have. Paris bringing on Temp. We're going to see, where they're at. We're going to see what, with this change being made for Temp, what Temp's going to do, what he's going to bring to the table for this Paris team. And right off the rip, you got Paris taking a 250-111 hardpoint win, and Paris go up 1-0, and then you're like, okay, hold on now, this Paris team, they got something going. They knew what they were doing with the swap, right? Partially. Dallas goes on to win the series 3-1, and this kind of kick-started some crazy stuff that happened. We're gonna get into that when we get into day 2 and day 3, but that was Dallas came in, they, looked shaky on that first hard point, but they ended up coming through and they ended up taking the 3-1 over the Paris Legion. Then in our second series of the day, you had the Toronto Ultra going up against the Florida Mutineers. And, the Mutineers are bringing Cold Havoc. He's back. This is the first time, we're seeing Cold Havoc since the benching, but we didn't know what to expect. Again, another change. I think there was a good amount of teams that were coming into this stage, coming into this week with something to show off, something to prove, because we had a lot of roster changes, a lot of mix-ups. After stage 2, you got the roster mania of olds where, after a big tournament, we got people getting dropped, we got people getting, traded, we got people moving here and there. Same thing going into stage 3. There was a lot of movement, a lot of things happened, a lot of teams shook up, and this was a game that we wanted to look at. We wanted to look at Toronto Ultra coming off that just impressive win in stage 2, going against Florida Mutineers with Cold Havoc. And Toronto just came out and put it on them. Toronto came out and they won 3-0. And, you had a hard point that was a 250-161 in favor of Ultra. And then you had a chance. You had a chance for Florida to take the S&D with Big Wake Awakening dropping 13 kills, but them going down 6-5. And then Ultra just running away with the control. And you expect that, right? Toronto coming in, stage 2 winners. The good thing about that with Toronto is you see they weren't complacent with the win. They still wanted to come out. They wanted to make a statement. They wanted to let everybody know that we're still here. And we're not just going to take the win and then, be comfortable, get too comfortable, not go home and work on anything. Just, be average, just take the win. We're good. No, they came out hot 3-0 to start their stage 3. And that's something that everybody wanted to see. We wanted to see what Toronto were going to get. We wanted to see the stage 2 winners. We got the stage 2 winners, and they came out and they won 3-0. So that basically did it for day 1. We had Dallas take the win over Paris 3-1, and then we had Toronto take the win over Florida 3-0. Now, this is where it got a little crazy. So between the day 1 and 2, the Dallas Empire announced that they would be benching Hook and moving Tyler Fellow Johnson into the starting lineup. Now, Hook is arguably one of the best players in the game. There's no doubt about that. That's Hook the Nuke. He's right place, right time, makes, always popping 2 pieces, 3 pieces in the hill. He's always making plays in search and destroy. He is always bringing the vibes from the comms videos. You can see Hook is somebody that any team would build a franchise around. Dallas Empire chose to swap him out for Fellow. Fellow has been doing his own thing in challengers and has been, that was the reason behind it, as per the Dallas Empire coaching staff, Rambo Ray, head coach. And they wanted to give Fellow a shot. Obviously they didn't feel that, even with the 3-1 win over Paris, they didn't feel that it was enough. So they wanted to go ahead and, swap Fellow in. So this was between day 1 and 2 transition. That was the big talking point right there in the middle. Just stage 3 just started. Dallas has 1 map underneath their belt. And then this happened. So then going into day 2, we have the 100 Thieves playing against the Seattle Surge. Seattle came out hot as expected. These guys put in the time, put in the work, and when they're on point across the board, they are on point. They are going to give anybody a run for their money. They have players that are scrappy, that do what they need to do to get the win, and they came out and it was looking like it was going to be a 3-0. And then 100 Thieves just flipped the switch and they reverse sweep the Seattle Surge. It was something that was not expected because the Seattle Surge, they're momentum based. You see the momentum going and going, and you just saying they're going to 3-0 and it's going to be over. But 100 Thieves show that resilience. They stick with, they're still working through their things with Draza, Venom, Kenny, TJ. They still have that new roster, but this time they actually had time to practice. So when they come out and they go down 0-2, it's kind of like, okay, hold on. We're looking for the guys that came through and shocked everybody in stage 2. Well, they ended up flipping the switch and they turned it on and they take the reverse sweep over Seattle. Then our next match was between Optic and London. Now, this series, it was really Optic coming out, and what was Optic that we were going to see? They were coming off the crazy loss, getting knocked out by the Rocker in that 1v3, which everybody's talking about. Of course, we've already talked about it. It's been shown over and over and over, but we wanted to see what Chicago team was going to come out. And they come out with a firm statement, 3-1 over London. Envoy had a really, really great series, and actually all weekend Envoy really turned it on, and he looked like the Envoy of old. He came back and he came out, and you can tell that he wanted to make a statement this weekend. He was on the flank, doing everything that, Envoy is known for, especially last year when he was always on the pinch, always right place, right time, popping the 2-piece, popping the 3-piece, doing everything he needed to do. And that was the Envoy that we got this weekend. And it really was a breath of fresh air, especially from an Optic fan, because I know Envoy has it in him, and he showed it again this week that he's still here. He's still somebody that needs to be accounted for at all times on the map. So I was really excited and happy to see Envoy come through and do what he did this weekend. Going on to day 3. So LAG made the move to also bench Vivid. Say also because, again, we had all kinds of teams, make the roster changes and moves. We had Vivid, arguably LAG's best player, get benched for the man that everybody loves in the COD community, Money Chino. They came out and they're playing against the Paris Legion. Again, Paris still trying to figure out some things, but LAG on the other side as well. Both new rosters, still trying to, work things out. They come out and LAG 3-0 Paris, and Money Chin turned up. He actually played extremely well. The stats do not lie. He came out and he did his thing, and it's so good for me personally to see Chino turn up and show his worth, because he's always been there. He's always been the main AR that, maybe the most underrated player in the CDL period. He is a player that can still make it happen, still do his thing, and I'm so happy. I'm happy for Chino. Chin's a homie. I'm glad that he got his chance, and he showed what he can do with it. So then we went on to Florida Mutineers versus the Rocker, and Florida came out, and maybe surprising to some because the Rocker had been, since they got Standy, they had been coming out and, doing what they needed to do. They've been looking really way better than what they looked like before, and Florida came out and 3-1 them. And it was like, head turner for sure. I was kind of sitting there like, okay, well, I was expecting Rocker to come out, and they've had, of course, more practice, have a whole tournament under their belt with Standy, and Florida came out and 3-1 them. Florida is just like Florida of last year, in my opinion. Any given moment, those guys can turn up and they can make it hard for any team, anybody that they play against. Doesn't even matter, if they're the best team in the league. Florida can come out and compete with anybody, as most teams, if not all the teams in the league. So they come out and they 3-1 Rocker. Then we had Optic Gaming versus Seattle Surge, and every map was really, really close. It was a really good series to watch out of both teams. There was some mistakes on both sides. There was some clutches on both sides. It was a really good series to watch overall. I think that both of them are going to be scary. Optic has not made a change yet, so Optic is still riding with the same team, working out the kinks in their search and destroy, their hard points, getting back to where they were before in their controls. And Seattle is just, you can tell they're right there. They're on the cusp of being a top team. They have the gun skill. They make mistakes, as everybody does, in certain crucial times. And really, that's what plagued this series, because they had a chance. They had a chance to definitely take the first two games, and, some things were unfortunate for them. But Seattle is, in my opinion, turning heads for me. I think they're one of the sleeper teams for sure because, again, like I've been saying already, they're a team that can turn it on at any second, at any moment, and those four guys can turn up and make something happen, And I think the X factor for this team is Looney, because we know what the other three players are going to do. High caliber players. Looney is the one that was not in the league last year, but has been turning up on their wins on certain maps. But then you got that Looney where it's not going his way sometimes. So I think he's the X factor for that team. If he gets it rolling and he gets consistent, Seattle is definitely going to be a problem. And that wrapped it up for day 3 of the stage 3 London home series. Going into day 4, now this was today while I'm recording, we had 100 Thieves take on the London Royal Ravens in game 1. And London came out with the fire, man. And I really wanted London to get a map win. I wanted London to get a series win, of course, for their home series. And they came out in the map 1 and they put it on 100 Thieves. They came out with a 250 to 163 map 1 win on raid. And the stats for their ARs, man, it was just, you had Shawnee at a 1.33. You had Paul X at a 1.21. You had Zed at a 1.11. And even Zaptius, the newcomer on this roster, came out with a 0.94, which isn't bad. I mean, that's still doing what he needed to do in hardpoint. And they take the game 1. And then, again, we see the team that is supposed to win, in our opinion, my opinion, turn up. They come out, 100 Thieves comes out, and they 6-1 London on the next map. And then it just snowballs from there. LA Thieves end up taking the series 3-1, and London has to get back to the drawing board again, being it is a new roster, bringing on a new talent. You just have stuff to work on. You got to get the comms right. You got to figure out what everybody's doing on the map. It takes a little bit. You don't expect teams to just come in and, instantly start 3-0 people or instantly start showing turnarounds. It's going to take some time. I mean, it's definitely not an overnight fix for any team. You swap some guys in, you can swap some guys out. There's always going to be that learning curve. You might catch a honeymoon period where nothing can go wrong, but in this league, the strong teams are strong, can fall at any time, but The teams that make changes, those are the guys that are going to really need to put in that extra work, especially coming into matches that mean so much for majors and going on to champs for seeding and everything. So I really want to see what London does from here on out. You know, they have a chance. They have a really good team. It's not they're at the bottom. Had a lot of roster moves, a lot of changes going on, and I think only one player on their team is still on the roster and on the starting lineup, and that's a lot to deal with. That's a lot. I know they're at the bottom of the standings and everything, but that's a lot to digest, to process for the players, swapping in and out. And I hope they stick with this roster because it did show signs of life. It did show that they can compete. And I think that they really can make something happen. So I hope they stick with this roster. I hope they do put in the work. I hope they do come back strong for the upcoming weeks. So the next match that we're going to talk about is one that everybody was anticipating, right? We got the New York Subliners and the Atlanta FaZe. New York Subliners bringing in Hydra for Diamond Con, and this was a series that was down to the wire. We wanted to see what Atlanta FaZe team was going to come out. Atlanta FaZe just recently brought in Tupac as their S&D analyst, S&D coach, and we wanted to see what they were going to do because Atlanta FaZe did really struggle in S&D. In the game one, Hydra turned up. He dropped 31 and 24, 31 kills, 24 deaths, and the New York Subliners took the 250 to 211 lead and ended up winning the hard point on Garrison. Going into game two, we had Atlanta FaZe take the Search and Destroy, and they did look really, really good. They were pushing things out as a team. They were making trades, and the analyst on the desk brought up something that I really thought about. Was it Atlanta FaZe's adjustments for Search and Destroy, being that they did hire or did bring on Tupac as their analyst and also had, their weeks to work on stuff in S&D, or was it a lack of knowledge out of the Subliners, being that they did just bring on Hydra? We didn't really know, but we did, Atlanta FaZe did come out and they did take that game two Search and Destroy, which made it 1-1 on the series. And then we had FaZe come out and take the Control 3-2, that was a game that could have went either way. It was, both teams were going at it. They were going back and forth. It was a crazy game, but we did have FaZe come out on top, 3-2, and that made it 2-1 on the series. Then going on to game four, we had the Subliners and FaZe go again down to the wire, and Subliners ended up winning 250 to 241. Now, this should have been a blowout. New York was up by a ridiculous amount of points. I forgot what the score line, but it was around 100 and something points to about 3 or 4. It was crazy, and Atlanta brought it all the way back. It looked like they had the momentum. They had everything rolling for them, and New York just snatched it, and they went ahead, and I think that would have been something that the Subliners as a whole could have broke them, because it could have been another close series that they should have won, or it could, close game that they could have won. Ultimately, they ended up winning the series, but this could have been the turning tide, because that would have been it, and it was a game that they had in the bag from the jump and almost lost it. So it was a little bit shaky, but, New York came out with the win on that one. And then we went into the game 5 S&D, and it went all the way down to around 11, and we had FaZe up. I forgot exactly what it was, but FaZe was up 5-3 or something like that, and New York come all the way back and take the round 11. Atlanta, I know those guys are going to go and they're going to work. They're going to try to get better. They're going to try to fix the things they need to. I still think that picking up Tupac as their S&D analyst is going to work wonders for that team. Tupac worked with our cities last year with the Huntsman. He brings something to the table that I just think that's going to ultimately bring this FaZe team back to where they were before. I how long will it take? Not too sure. What's going to happen from here for those guys? I just, we'll see what happens. The only time will tell. But New York coming out with that win, I know it was big for them, big for Hydra, big for this team because it shows that they did, make the right decision. Diamond Con, when he came in, they weren't expected to do anything, especially when they made their roster move. I think it was stage 1, and then they came out and made things happen that week, that stage. So now coming in here, taking out FaZe, number 1 team still standing wise, and it's a big win for those guys. Then our last match of the night was Toronto versus Dallas. Now again, this was the first series that Dallas is going to be playing without Hook. And we really wanted to see, was this the right move for Dallas? Again, they just made this change on the 22nd. Now we're sitting here at the 25th. Not, couple days of practice, couple days of scrim between their first match and this match with Tyler Fellow Johnson being their new add-on for Hook. And it did not look good for Dallas. There was a couple games where it could have went either way. Couple mistakes, couple little things happened. But Toronto came out and they 3-0'd them. And it's hard to question it and say it was the wrong move because they didn't have enough time to practice. Now, give them a week, give them 2 weeks. We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know. Fellow came out and he didn't play bad. Was he superstar caliber like Hook is on a map? No, he wasn't. But he didn't come out and get completely trashed. He was holding his own. He was doing his thing, holding his lanes, doing what he needed to do on the map, letting Illy and Shotzi run more free. And I think you give Dallas some time. Give them the week, give them 2 weeks, let them get comfortable with each other, and then we'll judge them off of that. I think it's a little bit unfair to judge them now and judge and say, oh, it was the worst move that you could make, subbing out Hook. But you're talking about a Toronto team that has looked unstoppable so far, So I think Dallas, not necessarily have to go back completely to the drawing board, but they just need to work. They need to work together. They need to get some more reps in, and then we'll judge the decision that Dallas made later on down the line. And with that, we wrapped up week 1 of stage 3. There were some surprises. There was a lot of team changes, a lot of movements. We've seen a lot of new teams. I believe the stat is Optic and FaZe are the only 2 teams in the league that have not made a change up until this point. So everybody else in the league has made changes up to this point, and there was a good amount already going into stage 3. So I think only time will tell. I think it's going to be an interesting into the year, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what team shows up. I'm excited to see if Toronto shows any weakness. I know there was an announcement that LANs are set to come back. What LAN, or if it's going to be an event, or if it's just going to be champs, we don't know yet. But it's interesting to see. I would like to see a major, the next major, on LAN, and then maybe from here on out, just like they used to do, where the majors were on LAN or the big tournaments were on LAN, and then the pro league stuff was on line. That'd be awesome if they could, somehow start doing that. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for stopping by. I appreciate you for listening through, if you did listen all the way through. And being that this is my second episode, I'm still trying to get used to doing this many games in a week. Last time was just a major and it wasn't too bad. I don't know. This one was a little bit weird, and I know it came out, especially for me doing it again the first time. So I want to start structuring everything a little bit better, as far as getting my stats situated for Breaking Point. looking up the series. I think I need to take a little bit more notes right now. I only took notes of the series, 3-1 or 3-0, whatever it was. I didn't actually go through and figure out who won what or who lost what. I was just scrolling through Twitter and checking out the Call of Duty League, trying to figure out who won what, because I did watch them all. But again, that's a lot of Call of Duty. It's hard to pick, especially with the 3-0s that happen. Some of the the quick maps, the quick matches. Hard to get every little detail into there, but hopefully for the next one, I'll get it all planned out, and we should be good to go. But again, I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Much love to y'all. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that, any questions you may have for me, or there's any ways that, any ideas you guys have that could possibly fix, or help with this series. Willing to listen to everything, willing to listen to anything. And much love to you guys, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Later.